Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is 903 Sports. I am your host, Cameron Brown, joined by the man himself, Hunter Shattuck. Two-man pod. We'll get some back and forth action going on. It is the day after the Super Bowl, a.k.a. one of the saddest days of the year. Football season is sadly over. What a year it was, college and professional. The Kansas City Chiefs, 38-35 over Philadelphia in an absolute war of a game last night. The Chiefs were down 24-14. Pat gets hurt towards the end of the first half. Wasn't looking very good for the Chiefs. They looked dead in the water, and they came out and scored on that opening drive. And I was like, okay, here they come. And it was back and forth. Chiefs take over 35-27 late, and I'm thinking, okay, Chiefs got in the bag. Then Jalen Hurts throws a bomb to Devontae Smith. They go for two and get it, tie it up at 35. And then as Pat did in the second half, drives the Chiefs right down the field. The Eagles stop them, but get a holding call. I thought it was ticky-tack, but nobody can complain because James Bradbury, the corner, came out and said that he held him. And if that guy is saying he held him, as an Eagles fan, I mean, what do you do at that point? You know, you're kind of stuck. He admitted it.
Yeah.
Hell of a game. You feel for the Eagles, it's one of those games where somebody has to lose, and it just doesn't seem fair because they both played their tails off. And it sucks for the Eagles' long off season ahead after that's a rough taste in your mouth. And historically, teams after losing the Super Bowl do not play well the next season. Cincinnati did this year, which is rare. So, Hunter, storylines coming out of that game. What do you think?
Well, I think the place to start, sadly, is that call. You mentioned it already. And it was summed up well. I heard on ESPN earlier. Somebody said, you know, it is a hold. Like nobody can say that it's not a hold. But I think it was the only hold or defensive pass interference all game.
That was a clean game.
And so like either they weren't calling stuff or there was just no contact, which I'm going to guess they weren't calling stuff. They were letting the ticky-tack stuff go, which I like. But I don't like reversing course in the last drive of the game.
Yeah.
So now obviously I'm not breaking down every play in hindsight, like, you know, checking for holding or defensive pass interference. So maybe there wasn't a whole lot of it going on last night. That's a possibility, but I think it's more likely that they were letting that sort of stuff go all game and then just decided to call it in the moment. So that's a bummer, but it was a holding call. Like you said, the corner himself said he held him. So, I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's my thing. If the guys come out and saying he did it, man, it's really hard to argue that. And thank God that he did, because Philadelphia fans are nuts. They would have gone after that ref.
Yeah, but one of my buddies up here, he was an Eagles fan, went back to Philly yesterday to watch the game at a watch party. I hadn't heard from him. Like, he could be dead.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I was pretty crushed after the Celtics lost the finals this summer, and that would not compare to the Jets Super Bowl loss. I mean, that's tough, and especially as good as Jalen Hurts played. That was my biggest question for the Eagles was Jalen Hurts is kind of banged up. He really didn't play that well against San Fran in that game. He didn't need to. But he missed. I thought he missed some throws, and I was like,
I agree.
Great, but he played phenomenal. He had that bad fumble that Philly's going to look back on. That was the first half, wasn't it? It was 14-7. Scooping forward, and that, you know, it got the Chiefs back in the game, and then Philly took back over at halftime, and it was a tale of two halves. It was all Philly in the first, and it was all KC in the second. And that brings me to this point: Andy Reid. They adjusted big time. That guy, in my opinion, first ballot Hall of Famer, legendary coach.
What's crazy to me, and, you know, I was thinking about kind of sizing up Pat's game last night, and his stat line is incredible. He didn't throw for very many yards, but his completion percentage was really high.
So good.
But I don't remember him making a bunch of throws into tight spaces. You know, like Jalen made a bunch of throws, like right on the money. But then I got to thinking, well, Pat's receivers are just wide open.
Yeah,
like, how often did you see Travis Kelce run across the middle of the field wide open, or Juju Smith-Schuster across the middle of the field wide open? And I think that's just play calling and play design. You know, like pre-snap motion, getting kind of figuring out the defensive coverage. I mean, Andy Reid put on a master class of play calling and getting the defense into schemes that they wanted. And it was incredible. Like you said, it was truly an Andy Reid legacy game.
Yes, it was. Against his team that fired him.
Yep.
In the Super Bowl. I mean, how good do you think that feels to win that game? I mean, unreal.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, hey, well, the wildest thing about Kansas City is, and This is off topic, but what's driving me nuts is this narrative in sports. The whole everyone doubted us. Like Georgia, the guys were like,
Yeah.
everyone had us going 7-5. Like, what are y'all reading? Y'all were the
Yeah.
favorite. Travis Kelce said it. And at first I was like, are you kidding? But then I started thinking, there were a lot of people that were not picking the Chiefs to make the playoffs or to be lower in the division because there was all the talk about the AFC West, Russell Wilson coming to the division. The Raiders were going to be better. The Chargers were going to be a lot better. And it wasn't a rebuilding year for the Chiefs, but it was hey, if they're not as good, we wouldn't be surprised because they lost Tyreek Hill. The defense is older. They don't have their weapons anymore offensively. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a non-factor at the running back. They have no running game, essentially. And this Pacheco guy comes out of nowhere.
Well, he's an animal.
He's a beast, man.
He runs the football like he's
angry.
mad.
He runs it angry,
yes.
like prime Marshawn Lynch, angry.
Exactly.
Runner.
Exactly.
So, they just retool. And, the Chiefs are going to be back next year. They got the best player in the world, Pat Mahomes.
So I'll put my hand up on this. I said in our NFL preview podcast, I said the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl and Josh Allen is going to win MVP. And I'll never make that mistake again. I've said it about Jordan Spieth in the Masters. I'm picking Jordan Spieth to win the Masters until he's not playing golf anymore. I'm picking Pat Mahomes to win the MVP and the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl until Patrick Mahomes proves to me that he can't do it anymore. I'm done with the whole, is Joe Burrow as good as Pat Mahomes? Is Josh Allen, has he surpassed Pat? No, none of them have. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. Yep. And it's going to be that way until proven otherwise, and that's going to be a long time.
It's kind of like the Brady thing. Peyton Manning was on his tails, and then Big Ben was kind of on his tail. And then there was the Eli deal, and Phillip Rivers, and Drew Brees.
What's a great comparison is LeBron James. You remember there was the whole, I don't know, like a year or two when KD was kind of like coming up, and people were trying to make the argument that KD is passing LeBron James. Yeah. And then LeBron was like, yeah, no, sorry, I'm still here. Like, that's exactly what Pat's doing.
Yeah, Pat's unreal. And, people are saying he's a top 5 quarterback of all time. And I don't know how you argue that at this point. He's won 2 Super Bowls. He's won 2 MVPs or 3?
Yeah, 2.
2 MVPs. And he's what, 20? I'm 25, so he's 26, 27 years old.
He's 27. He's 27. Played in the league 6 years. One of those was basically a redshirt year. The other 5 years, he's hosted the conference championship game. 3 of those, he's made the Super Bowl. 2 of those, he's won the Super Bowl.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
In 5 years.
So if he retired tomorrow, would he be a Hall of Famer?
No doubt about it. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Which is insane.
I mean, I don't have Peyton Manning's career memorized, but Peyton won 2 Super Bowls. Did he win 2 MVPs?
I think he won 2 MVPs as well, yeah.
How many conference title games did he play in? More than 5?
4 or 5, probably.
So Pat Mahomes has Peyton Manning's career already.
And the AFC that Pat's played in is nasty. He played at the end of
Brady. Stupid.
Yeah. He played at the end of Brady with the Patriots. Now you got the Bills, who are a great team. He's had to deal with the Bengals, who's been a pain for him until this year.
Mm-hmm.
AFC's really good, man.
Yeah.
You got quarterbacks like Justin Herbert and all these other guys that are in there as well. Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, they'll be better next year. But again, like you said, it's a great point. It is the Chiefs as the favorite until they prove otherwise.
Until further notice.
Yes. No more doubting them.
Yep.
And I'm not a Chiefs fan. I don't want to just keep blowing them up, but they're a very, very good football team. Because I told Cud, I said Philly was the best team all season long consistently, and they still couldn't beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Philly had a great year. They lost 3 games. 2 of the 3 they lost was Minshew as their quarterback.
Yeah.
Coach didn't play in those. They had an awesome season.
Great
team.
Played
a great game. If you'd have told them they'd score 35 points in the Super Bowl, they would have probably thought they were going to win that football game.
They're the first team. Did you see this today? They're the first team to ever score 35 points in a Super Bowl or a conference title game and lose.
Wow.
In the history of conference championship games and Super Bowls, I think there had been 38 games where a team has scored 35 or more, and they were 38-0.
Wow. I mean, look, 73 points in an NFL game is crazy. Like, we don't see that in college a lot. 73 in the NFL is wild.
Yeah, that's a lot of points. So I've got I saw 2 tweets today that really made it stick out, kind of what Pat and the Chiefs did yesterday. The first one's not all that impressive, but it's cool to see. These are his passes in the second half. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Completion for a touchdown. Incompletion. Completion for a touchdown. Completion. He threw 2 touchdowns and 1 incompletion in the second half.
That's crazy.
And then this one really got me. So last year, the 2-1 seeds were the Packers and the Titans, and the Chiefs were the 2 seed. All 3 of those teams.
Got the Titans for 1 seed. That's crazy.
All 3 of those teams got rid of their best receiver.
Yep.
The Titans and the Packers missed the playoffs, and the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
They all, like, the 2 1 seeds and a 2 seed got rid of their best receiver. 2 of those teams missed the playoffs. The other one won the Super Bowl.
That's crazy.
I mean, that if that doesn't tell you how great Patrick Mahomes is, nothing will. I mean, that is incredible.
Yeah, he's insane, man. And again, like we're talking about earlier, Andy Reid. I mean, those two are a great combo.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs, as long as those two are there, the Chiefs are going to be a problem every year. As long as Andy Reid and Pat are still there.
And I want you to hold me to this. After week 3 next year, if the Chiefs get off to a slow start, lose a game, and people, Pat's thrown 2 picks, and people are saying, "Oh, maybe he's not the
Chiefs
same
are
guy."
Done. Yeah,
he's not the same guy. I want you to slap me across the face and say, "No.
Yeah.
He's still the guy."
Not that the Chiefs are. I mean, Chiefs are a dynasty in their own, but not that they're like a Patriots type dynasty. But how many times over the years growing up, Patriots start off 3-3, everyone's like, "Whoa, Tom's done." The Patriots could be done, and they win the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah. If you could have just kept a level head and be like, no, I'm actually going to put a bet on Tom Brady to make it to the Super Bowl, you'd be rich.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt. So
Crazy.
I'm going to talk about Jalen Hurts a little bit. So he played his tail off last night.
Yep.
Threw for just shy of 300 yards. So the Eagles clearly have their guy, right?
100%.
I mean, there was doubts. They drafted him wildly in 2020 in the second round when they had Carson Wentz that they thought was their guy. And then everyone's like, that's a weird pick. And then last 3 plays, gets into the playoffs. They were okay. And then explodes this year. He's been phenomenal. He's got weapons this year that he didn't really have last year. Devontae Smith, Goddard, A.J. Brown, who I think is one of the best wide receivers in the league. He looks great. So he's clearly their guy. So do you think they have a hangover next year? Or do you think they bounce back like Cincinnati did?
I mean, it's always so easy to see a team come close, be like, oh, well, they'll be right back here next year.
It's so hard to win in this league because
it is.
The Panthers, when they lost to Peyton Manning, they missed the playoffs next year. The Falcons missed it after the collapse. There were a couple other teams. I think it was every 49ers before that in like 2013-ish, they missed the playoffs.
The year after Kaepernick.
Yep. The Rams, after they lost to the Patriots, they missed the following year. The Eagles missed it the following year after Nick Foles won the Super Bowl. The only 2 outliers were the Patriots when they won or when they lost to Philly. And then was the
Bengals.
The Bengals last year. And they got a slow start, and we're like, here is Super Bowl hangover.
Yep.
Never fails, and they took off.
It was just appendicitis.
I think the NFC is so weak.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one else. I mean, Dallas is Dallas. They'll be there, and who knows what they'll do. Green Bay may not have Aaron Rodgers next year. Yeah. The Niners will be back. But
who's going to be playing quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean,
are you afraid of Brock Purdy coming off Tommy John or Trey Lance after not playing football for 3 years?
No.
Yeah. So
not at all.
I mean,
the Bucs lost Tom. Like I don't. There's just nobody in the NFC.
You know what it feels like to me? It feels like the NBA about 8 years ago when the West was just stacked with everybody and the East was a cakewalk. You remember that?
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's exactly
now
what the NFL. Yeah. Now it's turned. But that's exactly what the NFL feels like.
It was LeBron in the East and all these mid teams behind him, and the West was loaded.
Yep.
Down from
with everybody.
1 to 8 really good basketball teams.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it is right now. It's a good point.
That's exactly how it feels. So, I mean, look, I'm going to eat my words. I hope I eat my words. But I think the Eagles are going to be back next year. And I think this is a good question. We just talked about not doubting the Chiefs. All right, but I'm about to turn around and pose a question.
Uh-oh.
Who is most likely to make it back to the Super Bowl next year? The Chiefs or the Eagles?
See? I was about to say the Chiefs immediately, but I was like, that's a good question.
But not because the Chiefs. I mean, if I ask you who's going to be the better team next year, I'd say the Chiefs and not really hesitate that much.
Sure.
But who's going to beat the Eagles in the playoffs?
I'm going to say the Eagles just because the NFC is weaker and the Chiefs are going to have more problems. And the Eagles are going to get older, too. They're very young football team with their weapons. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. Now, their offensive defensive line are very old.
Yeah.
That's going to be different. But yeah, I'd have to say Philly. I think Chiefs be a better team, but I'd have to say Philly. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Interesting point.
I don't I think I'd go Philly just because of the competition. I heard
Just
something else today.
because of
I
the
think it
competition.
was the I think the Chiefs had the second most minutes contributed by rookies this year. I think that's right.
Yeah, that goes back to my point. It was kind of a rebuilding year for
Yeah.
Kansas City because they had so many new faces in that offense. I mean, Kadarius Toney, Juju. They lost Tyreek Hill. Pacheco is a rookie running back.
Hmm.
The offensive line is young. Like they got rookie corners. I mean, it was kind of a new-ish football team,
Yeah.
and they got some veterans in there, like Jones, defensive end, and guys
And
like that.
Travis Kelsey. I mean, I don't think you can overstate how important he is to Pat Mahomes.
Oh, unbelievable! I told my brother for fantasy football when Tyreek Hill went out the door, I said Travis Kelsey's a top 10 fantasy pick because that's their only weapon that I knew of at the time. He
Hmm.
is going to get the most. He's going to be their volume guy, and he was all year, and he's
How does
phenomenal.
he get so open?
He's just the schemes that they run and his routes, man. He's really good. He's a more athletic Jason Witten with his
Yeah.
routes are so good, and he gets open all the time, and he never drops the ball.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, he's a hell of a player, and he's a legend in Kansas City. I mean, there was no panic when they lost Tyreek Hill there. I mean, how dumb does that guy feel right now? He wanted that pay raise, and they said no, and he said, "All right, I'm out." Now you're stuck in Miami, who hasn't won anything in 50 years, and the Chiefs won a Super Bowl first year
They don't
without.
even know who's going to be playing quarterback in Miami next year.
Exactly. They got a mess over there. And Tyreek Hill's great, but you left that situation. That's tough to swallow.
Yeah.
So moving off Super Bowl, so season's over, man. Thoughts on the season as a whole? Another
I
wild year.
I was I kind of had a tough year with the NFL this year. I felt like it was officiated horribly. So it's kind
Horrible.
of fitting that it ended on a
One flag.
controversial call like
I,
that.
I tweeted that. Yeah, just
Man,
very.
there were so many games I watched this year where I legitimately turned the game off because of all the penalties.
Yeah,
And I think that's a trend in all the sports. We were at a
sadly.
bar the other day watching an NBA game, and every trip down the floor there was a foul.
Yeah.
I
It just
I
kills
don't
the
know.
flow of the game, especially in basketball. Like
Yeah,
just
and so I mean,
you're
it's
not
not
tuned into
exclusive to
that,
the NFL, but it just sports in general right now are over officiated, and it
Big
makes it
time.
really hard to watch. And I've never been less excited to watch a regular season NFL game than I was this year because of that. Like you can't watch a game, there's no flow.
Yeah,
You're
not at all.
always, and I think constantly checking Twitter while watching the games probably hurts too. So I don't know. I'd love to see the games officiated the way the Super Bowl was.
Yeah, that
Let
was
the
great.
little ticky tack stuff go because the Super Bowl was awesome. Like that was
Well,
such
best
an
game of the year, I
incredible
thought.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if we're talking about the on-field product, man, I think the NFL is in great hands with all the young QBs. We keep talking
Oh,
about it, but
unreal.
it's just getting better. I mean, if Tua can come back and be somewhat healthy, I mean, obviously that's kind of a big if with his injury history, but he was an awesome quarterback when he was healthy. And he
He
played
was an
great.
MVP candidate for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just another young QB. Trevor Lawrence, I think, could be the
Yep.
real deal.
Yep.
And I mean, we've got another great offseason coming up with Aaron Rodgers drama. Maybe he's gonna be a New York Jet. Who knows?
Please.
Are you on the
Please.
Aaron Rodgers to the Jets bandwagon?
I wasn't at first, but at this point, man, I mean, we'll just take anything at this point. I mean, we took Brett Favre at the end of his career, and that was a disaster. But it's Aaron freaking Rodgers, man, and we have weapons this time. So I mean, we'll take anybody. I just don't
Well,
want Jimmy G. Anybody but
so
Jimmy G.
so I kind of crapped on football there for a minute. What did you think of the season? I mean, do you think I'm off base by just kind of being like, man, the season kind of came and went?
Well, I mean, I love every season. I thought this season was great. It was the most fun I've had as a Jets fan,
Mhm.
personally, selfishly,
Sure.
in a very long time until the end. But when we were in contention for a while, I think the talent across the league is insane right now. And I don't think the league's ever seen talent like this ever.
I
It's
don't
like
ever
golf
remember
right
this
now.
many young skill position players.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
I
every
mean,
team has an electric wide receiver.
if I had you name the top five receivers in the league, I don't know if you could do it because you're going to leave out an insanely good wide receiver
Yep.
because there's 8 or 9 guys that are elite.
That immediately come to mind. You'd be forgetting somebody.
And you got rookies like Garrett Wilson for the Jets was Rookie of the Year. Olave for the Saints. Both of those guys are going to be great, great receivers in 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I just think the talent across the league's great. I think the officiating is terrible. I think it's an incredibly hard job. I understand that. It's just the flow of some of these games and some of these missed calls in these crucial times. Like the Cincinnati game was horribly called. I thought Cincinnati really got been over the barrel on some of those calls late in that game. It was kind of one-sided officiated game. Yeah, I think that's a good point, though. I think that was tough, and people are going to turn that off. But, I mean, as a season as a whole, a lot of drama. You know, Tom Brady retires. Last time we'll ever see Tom play.
Yeah, wow.
Aaron Rodgers. Could be the last time we ever see Aaron Rodgers play. He may just straight up retire. You never know with that guy.
I mean, he's got $60 million on the line. I think the list of things I wouldn't do for $60 million is pretty short. So
the guy is going into a house for 4 days in the pitch black dark. Don't put anything past him. He is an insane person. He's insane. Why? Why would you do that? To meditate?
What did he call it? His isolation retreat?
Some isolation retreat. I'm like, my goodness. But it's a fun year, man. I'm sad it's over. I hate when football season's over. Hopefully the Jets are better. Hopefully the Cowboys are better. There's a lot of drama with the Cowboys. I mean, they had a great year, get to the playoffs, and they blow it against a weak, not I'm gonna say weak Niners team, but against Brock Purdy led Niners team that was very beatable in that game. They let it slide.
So don't worry though. Kellen Moore's gone. Mike McCarthy's gonna be calling plays next year, so it can only get better, right?
No, that's not good. If McCarthy's calling the plays, it's not good. We had comeback stories this year. We had Geno Smith come back for Seattle, had a hell of a season.
Daniel Jones.
Had the drama in Arizona with that blowing up in their face, and Kyler and Cliff going butting heads. I mean, there was a lot of storylines this year. It was a very interesting year in the league. I'm excited for next year. Hope the Jets come back kind of stronger next year with all our young talent. We're going to see. I mean, but problem is how good the AFC is. You got, we've said 100 times in this podcast, Herbert, Allen, Mahomes, Tua, all these great players in the AFC. The Patriots are still the Patriots. Like, man, maybe on the downfall, but I'll never doubt them.
What? I mean, on the quarterback thing, real quick, do you think Sean Payton can do anything with Russell Wilson?
Yeah, the Broncos will be a playoff team next year.
Look, yeah,
Russell Wilson at the end of
the day. I mean, they're running out of room in the playoffs.
They are. So somebody in the playoffs this year will be bad. There'll be injuries that, somebody will get hurt. It's just kind of how the league works. I think Sean Payton's a good enough coach to get them over the edge. Unless Russell Wilson's just that burnt out and just not that good anymore. I mean, the guy's a Hall of Famer.
I can't believe that. I just can't believe that
I just think the matchup with him and Hackett didn't work for some reason. Like, Hackett worked with Rodgers. He's worked with his share of wackos in the past.
Yeah.
And Wilson's an odd guy. But I don't know. And Hackett's the Jets offensive coordinator now, so we'll see how that goes. So football's over. So I know you're excited to talk about this. That brings us into it is officially college basketball season.
That's right.
It was 4 weeks of yesterday, right? As of yesterday, Election Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
It is a wild year in college basketball. I don't want to say there's no elite teams. I think there's 3 or 4 that are probably above the rest. Alabama, Purdue, and maybe Houston. Really good basketball teams. But this year's as wide open of a year as I've seen in a very long time in college basketball. And this transfer portal deal is spacing things out a little bit to where we get these St. Peter's that make a run in the tournament, 15 seed in the Elite 8. So I think this year we could see some high seeds make a run because there's just no dominant basketball teams. We saw Purdue lose at Northwestern yesterday. We've seen Houston lose to Temple. Alabama got boat raced by a very poor Oklahoma team. The talent is just spread across. I think it's going to be a wild season. What do you think, Hunter?
I couldn't agree more. So you said there's kind of, 3 or 4 teams at the top, but I don't think they're that separated. It's almost like there's like a tier 1A and then a tier 1B where you've got, I agree with your 3 teams, Houston, Purdue, and Alabama.
I would say
and then yeah, that's tier 1A. And then you have 1B that probably rounds out the top 10. Like, I'm biased. Baylor's 9. And who's 4? UCLA? Baylor's already beat UCLA this year. Like, they're interchangeable in my mind. Same with Kansas at 5. I mean, Tennessee is 10. Tennessee could go out and beat Kansas any day of the week.
We have beat Kansas.
You'll beat Kansas?
Beat Kansas in a tournament early in the season in
Hey,
like the Bahamas or something. We
I don't
suck. I don't
remember
want
that.
to talk about Tennessee. We're terrible.
But
Season's over.
the point is that the top 3 I feel like are pretty interchangeable, and they're slightly above the second tier of what's that, 6 or 7 teams, who I also think are pretty interchangeable.
Pretty good. Yeah.
So a lot of who makes the Final Four is going to be down to region and matchups, because there's not like,
All about matchups in that tournament.
exactly. It's not going to be like, oh well, this 2 seed is better than this 3 seed. It's just this 2 seed matches up better with this 3 seed.
Yeah. I think Alabama, Houston, and Purdue are the 3 probably top 3 teams. And then from Arizona and Texas and Kansas all the way down to Indiana and Miami, Providence are all pretty interchangeable teams, like you're saying. Like they're all good, can be great, and can also lose to St. John's like Providence did this week. Just a wild example. But it's very spaced out across the league. There's some good mid-majors. You got Florida Atlantic that's 24-2. Charleston's like 21-3. Oral Roberts, remember them in 2020, 15 seed, went to the Sweet 16.
Max Asmus, isn't that his name? He's still on.
ABMS, but it's Asmus. Still haven't figured that one out. But
that makes sense.
They're 23-4, 23-5. They're really good. The Mountain West is deep again. They could be a 4 or 5 bid league. But San Diego State.
But you know who's not good? Gonzaga.
Gonzaga is not good. I watched them play BYU. There's just something about them. I think Gonzaga's a 15-20. I mean, they're obviously not bad.
They're not half of what they used to be.
No, they are nothing like they were the last 2 years. And watch this year be the year they win it all after everything they've been through the last couple years.
I'll eat my hat. This is being recorded.
I'm just going to say,
Gonzaga wins the national championship, I will eat my hat.
The way sports work, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think they have the talent to be able to do so, but it would not shock me if they did.
Do they have any big wins? They beat Alabama.
They beat Bama, yeah, which looks really good right now.
Yeah.
As good as Bama's playing. So speaking of Bama, I don't want to talk about it for very long, but Bama, Tennessee. You think Tennessee's got any chance Wednesday night?
Absolutely. Tennessee is a microwave. Like if they are playing well in offense, the defense is going to show up. Tennessee shows up on offense, they can beat literally anybody. The same way they beat Texas.
And
Texas is probably a better basketball team than Tennessee day in and day out. But Tennessee just showed up and blew them out. And it's just yeah, I mean, it
makes sense.
Is Tennessee better than Alabama? No. But Tennessee could for sure beat Alabama.
You know what that's going to be, don't you?
What's that?
A system game. And Alabama are the system killers.
They are.
So, I mean, look, it's hard to win on the road in college. That's what happened with Bama when they went to OU on a weird Saturday where Bama just got caught. And I'm hoping we can turn it around. I mean, 2 buzzer beaters in a week, man. I mean, how does that happen? I've never seen that happen before to a team. 2 in the same
way, too. Up by 2.
Yeah. Miss free throw.
3.
Yeah. Miss free throw, 3 at the buzzer. Nuts.
What do you think? What do you think about the game this weekend? Bama, Tennessee.
I think Bama's a really bad matchup for us because if they get hot from 3, it's going to be hard for us to keep up with them. But our defense is really good. I think Tennessee's outside of Houston, probably a top 3 defense. I'd say, yeah.
And it's hard to tell just how good Houston is at defense because they don't really play anybody.
Playing Tulane and Tulsa every day.
Yeah, they anybody can get up for a couple of good pre-conference games.
Right.
So it's teams that play in the Big 10 or the Big 12, they got to do it every day, and that's different. Like that. So it's hard to tell just how good Houston is on defense.
I just think we're just so maddeningly inconsistent. We can go through some of the craziest scoring droughts you'll ever see, and then we'll make 5 threes in a row and we won't score for 6 minutes. It's just the up and down of the offense could get us. I'm telling you, if we make the Final Four, I wouldn't be shocked. If we lost the first round to Loyola Marymount, I wouldn't be shocked either. It's just the way this team is.
And you know what? To me, that says that that's poor coaching.
Yeah.
Because a coach shouldn't be reliant. Well, looky here.
Unbelievable. Jeffrey Yeager calling in mid-pod from the casino.
What's good, y'all? Are we still going?
We're talking college hoops right now, Jeff.
What do you got to say about the Super Bowl? I want to hear your thoughts.
What happened to Trenton Could?
Couldn't make it, and Sansom jumped off. He didn't want to talk sports.
No way. Are we still recording?
Yeah, we're recording right now.
We're live, man.
We're live,
Let's
Junior.
go, baby.
Yay. Let me get your thoughts on this Houston Cougars basketball team. We're talking college hoops right now.
I think the Houston Cougars lose to too many teams that they shouldn't, and it kind of concerns me.
Yeah, that Temple loss the other day was
Lose,
bad.
didn't they lose at home to Temple?
Yeah, to
They
the
did.
Mighty
Yeah,
Owls.
They've had a couple losses that I'm just like, hey, man, you got to tighten that up.
You throwing in the towel on the Cougs?
No, absolutely not. I'm planning on putting a stack on them when March Madness gets here.
Wow.
Well, you're in the right place.
Yeah, no kidding. Are you in Vegas right now?
Right. Huh?
You in Vegas right now?
No, I'm in a place called West Wendover.
Oh my. They got a sports book there?
Yeah, they do.
Wow.
I put $1 billion on the Houston Cougs.
Yeah, go hammer the Cougs to win it all. Your Cougs. So back on track here, Hunter. I want to get Yage's Super Bowl thoughts here in a little bit. To finish this hoops thoughts, Big 12, freaking gauntlet of a conference. You think it's an 8-bid league?
I think if the teams were spread out, not playing against each other and beating each other up, absolutely. I think the top 8 teams in the conference are definitely tournament worthy, but I don't know if they're going to give 80% of the teams bids. I mean, I find that hard to believe.
West Virginia would have to. I think they're kind of right on the edge right now. Oklahoma State played their way in, beating Iowa State this weekend.
Yeah.
OU and Tech are out. West Virginia is the fringe team to be a 7 or 8 bid league.
Yeah, and they're playing Baylor tonight.
They played Baylor tonight. Chance at a quad 1 win. I think they'll probably get 7. West Virginia probably will fall off, and maybe Oklahoma State will lose some down the stretch.
Yeah.
But, man, Bob Huggins said the other day, he said he coached in the Big East when they got like 8 or 10 teams in and said, this is harder than that time because it's brutal every night in this conference. We just saw Tech, the worst team in the conference, beat K-State Saturday.
That's what's crazy. You've got Texas, who as of right now is tied for Texas leading the conference, playing Texas Tech tonight, who's the worst team in the conference, and Texas is a 4.5-point favorite.
Yep.
There's 4.5 points separating the best team and the worst team.
That's how good the Big 12 is, and that's how hard it is to win on the road in college basketball.
Yeah, but what would the line be in Austin? 8.5? I mean,
probably.
Yeah, that's not even that big of a line.
It's wild.
Crazy. It's
Jeff, what do you think about the Longhorns?
About the Longhorns in basketball?
Yeah, Longhorns basketball team playing good ball right now.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said it 100 times. I love the way they finished the tournament last year. Like even though they lost to Purdue shot 45 free throws in that game.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
And the Longhorns, and the Longhorns just kept with them. They found a way to get a bucket. So they showed a lot of heart, and that's something you don't really get from the Horns too often. I consider them like the entitlement college, which is what really frustrates me most of the time, especially in football. But I think their basketball team has a little more, hey, like we've got something to prove type of thing. And also, I think playing in such a hard basketball conference as the Big 12 makes them have to play hard because they know if they let up, they're going to look up and they're going to be 8-10 games below 500.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I think Texas got some dog to them. This interim coach they have after all the Chris Beard junk that happened, this interim guy's got them playing some pretty good ball. Yeah. Tennessee beat them the other night, and I was shocked because Texas is good.
Oh, yeah.
And opposite direction since then. Texas hadn't lost, and Tennessee hadn't won. So I like the way Texas is playing. They got some depth on that team, too, which is really important to that tournament. So
I think it's going to be a good year for college basketball. I was looking at some lines earlier, and Miami is ranked 15 or something like that. Yeah. And they're playing at unranked UNC, and they're like a 5-point dog. Mm-hmm. Miami is. The ranked team is a 5-point dog. I think the Tar Heels are 11-1 at home this season. So I think college basketball just across the board I think it's going to be a phenomenal March Madness this year.
A good segue into what I want to talk about next, Jake. The North Carolina Tar Heels. They are down 8 right now at home to Miami. They started the season number 1 in the country. They were an 8 seed in the tournament. They got red hot in the tournament. They had that war against Baylor, came back from the dead. Or no, Baylor came back from the dead, tied it. North Carolina still won in overtime. Tar Heels go all the way to the tournament. Jacob. Tar Heels go all the way to the tournament, all the way to the Natty, and they lose by 1 possession late. They start this season number 1 in the country, and what did we say, Hunter? We said, hang on a second. This is the same team that went like 21-14 last year. They got
They
hot.
just got hot.
That's great. But number one, I don't know. And what have they done? They have been average as average can be this year. They're slow. They lose this game in Miami at home, which Miami's a good team. They're right on that bubble edge.
Did you say Lenardi had him in the first four in?
He had them on the first four in. They had a nice
last four in.
Last four in. They had a nice win against Clemson. I haven't seen where he moved him after that.
Clemson's garbage, though.
As a 6-point favorite, I mean, they're going to be. They're right now. They're a playing team.
Yeah.
With the likes of New Mexico and maybe Kentucky and A&M.
After making the national championship, after being a possession away from winning the national championship.
Yeah, and then after being number one in the country to start the season, I wonder if a team has ever started number one and missed the tournament. It's very possible for these Tar Heels, man.
Who's a bigger disappointment, North Carolina or Kentucky?
I'd say North Carolina because they started number one in the country. Kentucky started 7 or 8, though. They've been very disappointing. I don't know what Oscar Tshiebwe did this offseason, but he's terrible. He's a shell of himself this year. He had 7 points against Georgia the other night, or maybe when it was Florida or somebody. They had a game. He had 7 points. What is he doing? I don't know. They're struggling. Kentucky has bad chemistry. I think the Calipari thing is kind of getting a little stale over there when you're not winning, and they've got some problems over there. Very disappointing year for Kentucky, who beat us this year. But I don't know, man. The Cats are struggling, and they're right on the bubble too. They don't have the superstar talent they normally have. The Tshiebwe's not having a very good year.
Yeah,
and it's rough. So, Hunter, a couple of last thoughts here. So, Baylor, what are your thoughts on the Bears? Big game tonight at home against West Virginia. It's a big game every night in that conference.
I'll keep it quick. I think
we win against TCU this weekend.
Man, I really think we're built for the tournament. We've got 4 guards that are starter level guards, basically at any team in the country. So that's really good because, typically guard heavy teams are really inconsistent because you're typically more relying on the 3. But when you have 4 guards who can go put up 20, and like the other day, Langston Love, who is our 4-man coming off ACL, or number 4 guard coming off ACL surgery last year, he put up 19 points in like 18 minutes. I mean, he's a stud. Dang. And so we've got 4 guys who can legitimately go out and get 20 points on any given night. And it's a big deal getting Jonathan Tchamwa back. Just the energy that he brings on defense. He's definitely not the player he was. And it's pretty clear he's lost some quickness, understandably. I mean, he basically tore everything in his knee. So I think he's going to keep getting better and keep getting stronger as the year goes on, as we get closer to the tournament. I mean, look, I'm biased. I genuinely believe that we're set up to make a run in the tournament. We have depth in all the right positions. Jalen Bridges is a grit guy. He's unbelievable as a 4-man. Look, we're going to make a run. We're going to make a run.
Put in the call, huh?
What's that?
Put in the call, huh?
I don't want to say we're going to win it all because I want to see how we react, as the season comes to a close, see if we can get our rotations more dialed in. But as of right now, I think we have the makings of a tournament team.
It was a gritty comeback against TCU Saturday.
Yeah.
Very gritty because they didn't play well the whole game until about the last 8 minutes, and they turned it on.
TCU fans are chanting airball at Adam Flagler. I don't know if you were watching the game, but
then he cans 3 in a row on him.
He scored 16 unanswered by himself.
By himself.
After they were chanting airball.
Kid was balling, man. He's a good player.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
All right. Yay, you want to talk NBA real quick, or you want to give me a couple Super Bowl thoughts?
Which would you like, bro?
You tell me, Mr. Casino Man.
Well, my thoughts on the Super Bowl, I thought it was one of the best Super Bowls I've ever watched.
Insane game.
As y'all know, I was on my mission during the Brady comeback over the Falcons Super Bowl, so I didn't get to see that. But of the Super Bowls I've seen, that was number 2. I got to see the Eli Manning helmet catch.
Oh, what a war.
When they beat the Pats. So that was cool to watch that. It was one of the best Super Bowls I've ever watched. And it was just one of the most anticlimactic endings ever. I do it's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, okay, by the book, I guess, yes, that's a hold. But the ball was 7 yards over Juju Smith-Schuster.
And even if it's the right call, it's still a buzzkill. Right. Yeah, it's not a buzzkill because it's not like the NFL's rigged or anything like that. It's just a buzzkill. That's not how you want that game to end.
No, absolutely not. And such a classic game, like the Chiefs coming all the way back, Philly only scoring 3 points in the second half, and then finally figuring it out, going down and getting it, and the 2 point conversion to tie it up.
Yes.
And it's just like, okay, you were good. They were in field goal range already. It's not like that penalty put them into field goal range. So you kick it and see if the Eagles are able to, make a name for themselves, go down in what would have been like a minute 45.
That's it. We were robbed of the Jalen Hurts minute and a
Comeback
half
drive.
Yeah.
to see if he can do it. Like
Yeah.
I think the questions are going to be there for a long time, but him undeservedly so in my mind. I think he proved a lot.
I do
But
too.
he had the prime opportunity to go out there and try to answer all the questions
Yeah.
right there and put it into it. If they
Didn't
get
get
the
the
ball
chance.
back with a minute and a half to go and he drives them down the field and they win the Super Bowl, he's it.
No
Oh,
question
yeah.
ever again.
But we were robbed of that.
One thing I really like, though, is I don't think this is going to be like a one and done team like the Panthers when Cam Newton took them all the way. And the reason I say that is because every member of the Eagles team came out and they were accountable for what happened. Like you
Yeah.
saw that Bradbury guy, he came and he goes, yeah, it was a hold. It is what it is. It's a terrible time, for me to commit something like that. But, I was just hoping they'd miss the call, but they didn't. And Jalen Hurts saying, come out, we'll only be better because of this. Nick Sirianni, I love my guys. Like, I think the fact that they're accountable, it's all business. I think you could very well see them in the NFC Championship again next year, no question.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They're a very well coached, disciplined team. Like Hunter was talking about the lack of penalties in the game. It was those are two very well coached football teams.
And I think they got and another thing I like about the Eagles, they have a lot of guys. Everyone on that team knows their role and they like playing it. You don't have anyone saying, hey, I wish I was getting more passes. Anyone saying, hey, I want more touches as the running back. Jalen Hurts isn't saying, I don't get to chuck the deep ball enough. Like, they all like their role and they fulfill it. And I think that's what makes a good machine.
I love it.
If I trust anybody to come back from adversity, it's Jalen Hurts.
No doubt.
The dude got benched during the national championship game. I mean, can you think of a more humiliating thing to happen? And he has come back and done this. I mean, I'm not putting anything past that guy.
He has a Heisman season at OU the next. No, I'll take that back. The next year he stays at Bama, wins an SEC championship for him after Tua goes down, transfers to OU, has a Heisman-like season, takes him to the playoff, gets drafted by Philly, and everybody's like, I don't know about this Hurts guy. Takes him to the playoff his first year getting to start for him. And in year 2, he takes him to the Super Bowl.
And he was not a
Keep down
good
that guy at your own
passer.
peril.
He was not a good passer in college. It's not like it's not even like he was a Josh Allen, like, oh, he's got a huge arm, he's just raw. Like, the dude just wasn't very good at throwing the football. And now he's actually good. I mean, he is not Patrick Mahomes throwing the football. That's pretty clear. Like, the ball doesn't look the same kind of his hand, but he's still really good at it. At an NFL level, he's still really good at throwing, and he is elite at running, which opens up the passing game for them.
Changes things.
The combo that he has is one of the best of the NFL.
He was dropping some passes in the bucket in that game. He's impressive, man. All right, last thing I want to get to, and then we'll jump off. I want to talk about some of these NBA trades last week. Wild NBA trade deadline. Kevin Durant is a Phoenix Sun. Talk about a lineup. KD, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton. They can get KD healthy and get CP3 and Devin Booker healthy because they've been injured quite a bit this year. They get the chemistry going, man. That as a Celtics fan, the Celtics are probably the favorite to win the title right now. Suns are a scary basketball team, man. And I like Monty Williams is a really good coach. Kevin Durant is an animal. Devin Booker has gotten better every year. Chris Paul's a Hall of Famer. DeAndre Ayton, great post player. That's tough. The biggest thing about this trade, and I've been hard on the Nets for the last few years, is this three-headed monster they got with Kyrie, Kevin Durant, and James Harden. Boy, did that blow up in their face. Harden won it out after 1 year.
And he looks like a genius now.
Yeah, he looks like an absolute genius. Kyrie goes to the Mavs last week, and then KD goes to the Suns. They won one playoff series with those three. They played a combined total, I think, 25 games together with that big three. Yeg, is that the biggest failure you've ever seen from an NBA franchise as far as putting together something like that? I mean, that's brutal.
I can't even think of what else would be up there.
I can't think of anything else that compares
I mean,
to that.
the Nets
I mean,
tried it with who did they get like 10 years ago? They
tried
tried
with
to
Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. We dumped them off on them, and they were terrible. They were
yeah.
way past
Yeah, I
their
mean
prime.
that's obviously not the same scale, but that's the only other just huge failure I can think of.
And it's the Nets again.
And maybe
I don't-
the Clippers right now.
I'd
Yeah.
say that's who I was thinking is the Kawhi Paul George Clippers.
Yeah,
Have
because
they even won a playoff series yet?
I
They
think
haven't even played together in a playoff series
Well,
yet.
they made the Western Conference Finals in 2020, but Kawhi had a torn ACL.
I was gonna say that wasn't with Kawhi, was it?
Yeah.
Like he was hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Nets, man, they had the huge deal with the Celtics when the Celtics dumped off old KG and Paul Pierce and Jason Terry, and the Celtics got all these picks that we turned into Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And then the Nets get this huge deal, getting Harden, KD, and Kyrie. And you end up dumping all these guys off for a bunch of picks that are all going to be late picks from the Suns. Because the Suns are going to be good for the next 6 or 7 years. Devin Booker is not going anywhere.
Mm-mm.
Durant's got 4 or 5 years left, probably 3 at the least. Like, these picks aren't going to be any good. I think Mikal Bridges is a really nice player, and Cam Johnson's a young talent. But those aren't guys. You got to get more, man. If you're getting Kevin Durant, probably the second best player of our lifetime, top 5 at the worst. Look, and that's no disrespect to Mikal Bridges. He's a really nice player. But, man.
He's not Kevin Durant.
He's not Kevin Durant, nor will he be. You got to be able to get a DeAndre Ayton type player. I thought they should have traded him to the Pelicans and got like Brandon Ingram and a guard, like maybe CJ McCollum or just somebody, some established star in the league back.
I mean, the Nets did get like 6 or 7 picks. Like 5 of them were in the first round.
They're going to be late first round picks, though. It's not like those are going to be.
They're all the Suns picks, right?
Yeah.
They're not like the other teams' picks that the Suns had acquired.
You're trading with like the Rockets. You're going to guarantee yourself a top 3 pick. Okay, that guy's going to be pretty good, probably. Late first round pick. Those guys are G leaguers most of their careers. Like the NBA draft's a lot different than the NFL draft. First round pick. Those guys will be G leaguers for 3 or 4 years, and we'll see how they pan out.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah.
So I thought the Nets colossal failure, and now, I don't want to say I'm rooting for the Nets because they're a division rival, but they're kind of fun now. They have that Cam Thomas kid who's hung 43 nights in a row. I like Mikal Bridges a lot. Cam Johnson. They got some nice young players now.
Yeah.
Which people won't remember this, but the Nets in 2019 had finally gotten past the whole no draft picks that they gave to the Celtics, and they were god awful. They have some of these young players. They had Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, D'Angelo Russell.
I was going to say, that was the D'Angelo Russell year.
Yeah, young core. D'Lo was good that year. And they were an 8 seed. And they played Philly in the playoffs. And it was I think they got swept. But it was a competitive sweep. Yeah. They were talking trash. It was a really nice series.
They had heart.
Yeah, a lot of heart. It's like, that Nets team's kind of fun. And the very next year, they blow it up completely. They bring in Kyrie and they bring in KD. They fire their coach, Kenny Atkinson, who I thought was doing a good job there. They bring in Steve Nash. They blow up this young core, trading away Jared Allen and LeVert and D'Lo into the Timberwolves. All for that 3-year span. You did that. You blew up the future of your franchise for that 3 years. Is that worth it? Hell no, it's not worth it.
Obviously, no, it was a horrible disaster. But if I would have done the same thing. I mean, if you told me in 2020, hey, you have a chance to get Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden on the same basketball team, take everything, take it all. Like take the house, take the car, you can have it. Like if I can have those 3, so even though it worked out, or I'm sorry, even though it didn't work out, I don't think we can sit here and be like, oh yeah, they're idiots, because they went for it, and I kind of tip my cap to them a little bit. Like, you know what?
They fell hard for doing so.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a colossal disaster. But would you rather do that, or would you rather be the Oakland A's and just never be any good? Like
I could not, or the Pirates. Yeah, I couldn't.
Yeah, I would rather be the Brooklyn Nets and at least have, what's the saying? You'd rather love and lost than never have loved at all. I mean, you at least gave it a go. So,
as a fan, you can at least say, you know what? They tried.
They tried.
My God,
Kevin
did
Durant
they fail.
Yeah, Kevin Durant's one of those guys where if you you ever have the chance to have him play basketball for you, you're gonna want it.
Yep. It just didn't work out. And I got a bone to pick real quick. I'm gonna go on this. This is my rant for the
I
day.
know exactly where you're going with this.
I don't know if you do, because I haven't said a word about this to anybody. So Kevin Durant gets traded to the Phoenix Suns, and all of a sudden we're crowning him, right? They're the favorite to win the NBA. The dude can't stay healthy. He cannot stay on the basketball court. The Texas Rangers get Jacob deGrom, a perfectly healthy pitcher, I might add, in free agency. And all people talk about is, oh, he can't stay healthy. That's wasted money. He can't stay. They're screwed. They're never going to get anything on him. He's healthy. And Kevin Durant is literally not playing basketball right now.
Hurt.
He is actively hurt. And we've already crowned the Phoenix Suns. Are you kidding me? Like, where was this? Where was this good energy whenever the Rangers signed Jacob deGrom? Like, oh wow, that's awesome. They're a contender. No, it's oh well, they're gonna be lucky to get 5 starts out of this guy. Give me a break, all right? Give me a break.
It's a fair point. Yeah, KD is hurt, and he'll be back in a couple weeks. But he's been hurt. Devin Booker's been hurt, so that is something Phoenix has got to.
Yeah.
You know, if they can all play, great. But if they stay hurt, it could be a disaster for Phoenix.
In the last 3 years, what's KD's longest stretch of health?
Not a lot. He's been banged up bad the last 4 years. Yeah, because last year he missed 3 months of the season.
Yeah.
He missed a lot. So last thing I want to touch on, speaking of the Nets. So Kyrie traded to the Mavs. Is this going to blow up in the Mavs' face like it has every other place Kyrie Irving has went? Look, everybody in the world knows my feelings towards Kyrie, so I won't go too long here. I'll let y'all talk about this. Yay, is this going to work for Dallas?
Absolutely not.
No chance.
This is a money grab for revenue by Mark Cuban. You don't have a chance on this planet of Kyrie wanting to stay in Dallas, Texas, with highest usage in the league, Luka Doncic. It's just not going to happen.
Here's the thing, like, what's the worst that can happen? It blows up for the next 3 months, and then he's a free agent. Like, it seems like a pretty low risk proposition. You went from not going to win the NBA Finals to now you're still not going to win the NBA Finals, but at least you're interesting the rest of the year.
That's the one thing I will say is that the Mavs stunk this year. Like they were in a bad spot, so they had to try something. I'm just a well-known Kyrie hater because the way he did Boston and the way he did Cleveland and the way he did Brooklyn and the way he'll do Dallas. He's just that kind of guy.
Here's the thing.
If you're the Mavs, you had to try something.
This is the worst-case scenario. Let's say it works. They get really good and make the Western Conference Finals. Give Kyrie $200 million. That's worst-case scenario.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if they're bad, they don't make it out of the first round of the playoffs, and he leaves in free agency. Okay, well, you were fun to watch for a couple of months because you got Luka and Kyrie on the court at the same time. That's cool. Yeah, but worst case scenario is if they decide to pay him.
Yeah,
I don't think Kyrie, man. He's a good player when he's on the court, but you got a guy that went missing in the middle of the season last year for the Nets, and nobody could get a hold of him. And he's up here in his press conferences talking about his work ethic. Like, dude, you were missing in the middle of the season. Nobody could find you. Like, work ethic. You weren't there. So, all right. Any closing thoughts before we jump off this pod?
That is it.
All right, guys.
Any closing thoughts, Jacob?
Yay, little Yay, give me a closing thought.
Don't gamble. It's bad.
Yes. Don't ever gamble.
The Eagles will win next year. Book it.
Wow, Eagles Super Bowl. Go put it in the sports book, Yay.
I will say this about the NBA. You know who my favorite is to win it all right now?
The Boston Celtics.
Watch out. The Milwaukee Bucks, baby.
All right, Yeg, here we go again. You doubted the Celtics last year. We clapped the Nets. You're doubting them again this year. We're going to clap the Bucks in the Eastern Conference. Keep doubting this team.
See you then.
All right, everybody. Thank you all for listening. We'll see y'all soon.